I'm actually way over a year late. About a year and a half ago, I asked people on Facebook for questions so I could answer them here in a YouTube video. And I'm mentally unstable, so this is at least how long it takes me to get my shit together and actually do it. I had many excuses like my gear breaking or me not being in the mood for showing my face, but I'll make up for it by using those dumbass filters. Alright, let's do this. Is being French an important factor when shredding? I mean, I'm half French and I'm halfway there, so I guess this checks out. Also, what string gauge did you use for semistring? No idea, I've never used a semistring. Probably whatever the fuck starts with 9 and ends with something humongous. Do you pronounce your name in French or Spanish? Well, I live in France, so obviously I'm gonna say Luca most of the time. But obviously if I was in Spain, I would say Lucas. But it's not even like anyone really calls me that anymore anyway. I'm just so used to friends calling me Lulu. Why are you so fabulous? Oh, thank you. If a train leaves Toulouse traveling at 110 km/h and another train leaves Düsseldorf at 110 km/h and they both are tuned to F Dorian, what would the actual song length be of your first prog rock epic song? Bro. 48 minutes. Tell us your history. What brings you to play music? I think my earliest memories of emotional reaction to music were because of movies. And at around 6 years old, I asked my dad to teach me how to play guitar like him because he was a flamenco player and I thought it sounded amazing. And then at like 7, 8 years old or something, I went to music school and I started piano just because I was asked, what instrument do you want to play? And I just pictured a piano in my head and I was like, oh, that could be cool. But I'm so thankful they got me a synth and not a real piano. And at first it was just because they didn't want to put the money in, but I'm so glad they did because it got me interested really early on in sounds and textures and arrangements and modifying the sound settings, and that was so important for me. You know, not only I have a list of hundreds of songs with the same chord progression for mashup purposes, I've also started working on a really high-effort shitpost ages ago. But I can't finish it because we still don't know if the Hagen lineup is going to change. I can't say anything until they've made something public, so we'll have to wait. I'd love to know your opinion on a song by Bruford, Levin and Per Extremities called Okay, Google, how do you pronounce this?
Cerulean.
Cerulean? Cerulean C. The sound design is cool. This is King Crimson related, isn't it? Yeah, that's cool so far. The harmony is cool. Yeah, intro is sick. Okay, maybe I expected more to happen through the song, but I mean, yeah, I'll have to check the album. Thanks for the recommendation. What is your #1 tip for new guitar players? Okay, this applies for any instrument or anything music, but have precise goals and work towards this and this only. Don't do an exercise because some teacher said it was useful. Just do stuff that is related to the stuff you want to be able to do. How did you minimize the motion of your left-hand pinky? Practice a new song, and when you practice it really slowly and paying attention to your pinky not flying away at all. Like keep it super close. Because you're playing really slowly, it'll be easy to keep the pinky close. And as you get faster, you'll see that your pinky will have no problem playing the song really fast without flying away. Because the hardest thing about the pinky flying away is trying to force it to stay close to the fretboard when playing songs that you've already practiced with the finger flying away. Relearning is a lot harder than learning, so the easiest thing to do is just think of it every time you practice a new song. You'll know it because you'll see me playing some licks with my pinky super close to the fretboard because I learned it that way, and then the next lick my fingers go crazy because it was an old lick I practiced in a completely wrong way back in the day. What's the point of art to you? I mean, as a whole, the point of art is whatever you want. Like, you could weaponize it, or you can say it makes people feel better, or I don't know. As for myself, I probably had a deep answer as a teen that, you know, it was for immortality, basically. I could deal with the fear of death by thinking that my art will survive after me, so it was kind of my key to immortality. But I guess right now I'm thinking a little bit shorter term, and, you know, is the thing that makes me feel productive and is fun at the same time. So when will you finally listen to Incauda Venenum, you little shit? Well, by now you know I did about twice or something, but I don't remember anything about that album. Is your right hand left-handed? See, I think guitar is backwards, and I think the hand with which you write is supposed to be the one that has dexterity, so you should be the one on the fretboard making precise notes, and then you should have the other one for strumming, right? And I feel that every student that comes to me has a really good fretting hand, but they're all like, oh, I can't pick, oh, it's so hard to pick, and I feel so alone having the shittest fucking fretting hand. And I just make up for it because my right hand is the one with which I write, and I'm really precise with it, obviously, so I can go really fast, really precisely. That makes up for my sloppy ass fretting hand. And then you have people like my friend Liam McLaughlin, alias Lamb, who is a lefty but plays guitar like a right-handed person, and that makes so much sense, and because of that, their fretting hand is amazing. I could listen to Liam just fretting shit all day with just one hand. I remember Paul Gilbert saying something about the right hand being the gas and the left hand being the steering wheel, and that there's no point in pressing the gas pedal if you can't steer, because you're just gonna go through a brick wall. It's so true, like you can make amazing music with just your fretting hand, but try to do that with just a picking hand. You're gonna need crazy open tuning. Anyway, guitar is backwards, guitar is wrong, we should start over. Best exercise to improve time, dexterity, and flow. I should make an entire video on the topic, it's pretty wide. But look up for time feel exercises. And for practicing timing, your best friend is the record button. Record yourself, listen to yourself from a third person point of view. Listen closely to which specific notes are dragging or which are rushing, and try to adapt to that. Try to make yourself feel like you're rushing a certain note on purpose until you listen back and it sounds tight. That'll be super useful. What are your top 3 anime? That is a tricky question. I'm gonna cheat and say my top 1 because I just finished watching Little Witch Academia and it was too short, but it might have been the best thing I've ever watched. The character design was perfect. I love so many characters, they're so well written, I love them. How to record the best quality vocals for mixing. The cool thing about recording vocals nowadays is that good mics are cheap. I feel like when you compare super cheap mics and super expensive mics, it makes a hell of a difference on instruments and guitar amps and cymbals and stuff like this, but on vocals, most of the time, I cannot tell a difference. Don't buy a $1,000 vocal mic. Buy a $20 mic on Amazon or AliExpress or fucking Wish or something. If you don't have acoustic treatment, just find a room that sounds really dead, like it's not reverbing at all. It helps a lot if it has furniture, beds, sofas, curtains, stuff like that, cushions, etc. And then just make tests on how far you should be from your mic. If you're too close, it's gonna sound too bassy. If you're too far, you might start hearing tone from the room and it's gonna be more noisy or whatever. Once you figure out the best distance, you're set. As long as it's not clipping, you're good to go. Opeth or Dream Theater? There's no way you're gonna make me choose. I mean, I don't think I'll ever be selling out arenas or whatever, but I'll never forget you regardless. You wanna be friends with me? Yes. Will you write some gent instrumental soon? Well, it would have been cool to tease it here, but since I'm so late on this Q&A, Sunlight Highlights has been out for over a year now. A good guitar exercise for when you feel stuck. Learn a new song. What's your favorite piece to play on a piano or keyboard? I remember you mentioning you're primarily a keyboardist. I received classical education on piano, but I think what stuck with me the most was romantic music, so I can't choose a favorite, but it will have to be something romantic sounding for sure. Probably Chopin. Guest solo in next Kior. Kior? Wait, how'd you pronounce it? Anyway, it happened. It's in Take a Nap from Kior's new album. What's it called again? Tea Room. Of course, Tea Room. The best drink. What's your favorite tea? If you mean between black, green, and white, maybe some other colors, then black it is. Now for the flavors, it depends. Vanilla is really good with black tea, but then so is bergamot. Can you tell that this filter is trying to add lashes on top of my actual lashes? What place does Opeth take in your favorite bands? Ranking bands is too hard. I don't really listen to them that much anymore, but it's obvious that they've had a massive impact on my music and how I write it. How'd you survive as a human being when it seems like all you're doing is music? I'm actually terrible at saying focus due to ADHD. I very likely have an undiagnosed ADHD. I actually do struggle to survive off music, and I kind of live as a poor person. I think in this day and age, it's really hard as a musician to survive off one thing only. So your best bet is not only to do many different things, but also to have passive income, different sources of passive income. You want to be giving a lesson through Skype while you have some mastering thing exporting, while also there's someone buying a tab on your website, while also someone is buying strings of something you have a sponsor on, etc. Making very little money with many things.
Have you ever had a dream?
How to be a self-taught guitarist? There's no secret. There's no rule. Just I don't know. Getting to a good level will be longer than if you had a great teacher, but much shorter than if you had a shitty ass teacher. Would you rather be a millionaire but your face falls off every second Tuesday, or find a cure for cancer but all your farts make the sound of the sax solo from Careless Whisper? I mean, I would choose to be a millionaire Oh, sorry. Diminished scale. My answer to this question is hell yeah! For how long have you been playing guitar and how many hours a day? See, this is funny because people will often assume that if I play well, it must mean that I maintain my skills by practicing all the time every day. That's not how it works. If you don't play for like 10 years, you'll lose some skill. You'll grab a guitar and be kind of shit at it, but then it will be so fast recovering the skills you had. What really happened is I got obsessed with guitar when I was like 15 and I practiced all the time, every time I could. And then not so much. And do I practice a lot today? Not really. Depending on the work I have to do, I often spend weeks, maybe sometimes months not touching a guitar. And it doesn't matter, because then I pick up the guitar and I'm kind of shit at it for like 10 minutes and then it's good to go. I get all my skill back. How many instruments you play? That's a tough question because I've tried playing every single instrument I've came across my whole life. So you have guitars and keyboards that are my comfort zone, and then you have like bass and drums, which I do every once in a while, so I'm not as good at it, but I'm comfy with them. And then you have all the instruments I don't own, but I try to play every time I come across them, like violin, flute, and saxophone, or cello, or contrabass, or whatever, but I'm not good at them. So to be able to answer that question, I would need to be able to define precisely where do I start considering I can play an instrument, which I don't know how you do that. Are there any instruments you want to learn in the future that you haven't tried yet? I actually never tried a viola, because no one plays that. Everyone wants to play violin or cello or contrabass. I don't know why viola is the butt of the jokes in the orchestral realm. I love the sound of it so much. For people who learn instruments or vocals by themselves, is it better at some point to have professional sessions with well-known musicians? Well, here's the deal. The best musicians aren't the best teachers, but sometimes you don't want to trust teachers because they can't show you that they actually sound really good like you would want to, so you have no proof that their methods actually work. So I'm sorry, but there's no easy solution to this. It will be case by case. Some well-known musicians will know exactly how to explain what they do, and some teachers will be bad, or the opposite. Gandalf the Grey passes you the old Bobby, do you accept? See, I'm googling just now and I'm kind of disappointed because apparently what Gandalf is smoking is a strand of tobacco. Something that I don't think I see often enough in fantasy is the clear depiction of drug consumption. You could be so creative with what the plant is and what it can do to a body. Does footage of you playing Under a Glass Moon solo exist? No, it don't, and I don't think it ever will. There's billions of videos of people playing that solo. What are some of the things you do to get inspired? There are many tips and tricks around a writer's block, but what usually works best for me is using a change of scenery to give yourself more limitations on purpose. I think I've written some of my best stuff by going to a place where it only had like one broken acoustic guitar that only had 5 strings. Are you happy? I mean, like right now, not really. But in life, in general, as a whole, not really. How'd you copy an entire band's sound? No, wait, that wasn't the question. How'd you copy a band's entire sound? There you go.
It's a lot easier if I know a band really well by having heard most of their discography. Because then I can pick out every single aspect of music and figure out, oh, in terms of harmony, for instance, they always use that scale, or they always do these chords almost every single song. And then all their melodies always go this way, up and down, and then all the production is always so compressed, and then all the rhythms are always so fast or slow or whatever. I guess what people remember of these videos that I do is I try to really understand the vibe that the band is going for, and I try to do the exact same vibe.
But the process for me does not feel like this. It feels like a million details for sure. How'd you approach breaking the speed barrier? I never know how to pronounce breaking, and I'm never sure how to pronounce barrière. A lot of people will tell you, oh, you're supposed to play slow, and you just increase slowly and you break the speed barrier by playing for forever the same tempo until you can finally do 1 BPM above. That's bullshit. You have to play faster than you actually can. You have to shock your body. You can't learn to run by walking. You have to tell your body, I'm trying to do something and it's not working, so you need to change something. You need to build some muscles or build some muscle memory. But if you're not telling your body that something's wrong and not working, it won't change anything about it. Do you teach online, and how much do you charge? I do, but I'm not gonna tell you how much I charge. If I were to set the price on the YouTube video at the fixed point in time, people will come to me in 5 years and say, oh, you can charge me this much because like 5 years ago you were charging much less, so nah. Question about alternate picking and coordination between the hands. I think there's a massive misconception. So many students come to me thinking their hands are unsynchronized. Usually if your hands don't sound like they're in sync, it means that one hand was playing on time and the other one was sloppy. You should practice the guilty hand on its own until it's able to be really on time on its own, and then if both your hands are on time on their own, ta-da! Your hands are synced. Goat cheese or Lydian? One has to go. Which one do you choose? Honestly, I'll let goat cheese go. I know there's been a meme for centuries about me being obsessed about this food. My close friends all know about this one time where I ate a good goat cheese in a specialized restaurant, and it was an expensive one, and it was so good. I cried. It was so good, my body had to react. I wanted to scream or to punch in something, but I couldn't because I was in the middle of a restaurant, so I just started tearing up. Anyway, I don't know if it's actually true that this casein protein that you find in dairy is actually acting like a drug and actually addictive, but my craving for cheese grows smaller as I grew up. It's likely that I might end up going vegan at some point in my life, but I don't think I will ever think that Lydian sucks and that I would stop wanting to ever use it again. This is not a question, but a challenge. Play your guitar upside down. What kind of link is there between musical emotion and virtuosity? Dude, that's a tough one. I actually really want to make a full-length essay on YouTube about technical wankery and speed in music and all the hate it gets or whatever. It's a funny word because it kind of implies the technical ability of musician for playing complex music, and I'm not completely sure how to start a debate on this, but also it's very often linked to speed. And the funny thing with speed is that there's such a huge misconception that something that is played fast must mean that it's really hard to play. It's often the literal opposite, but I will make a full video about it. Anyway, if I want a simple and fast way of answering that question, I should make it be like, what kind of link is there between speed and musical emotion? And that's a much easier to answer, because I like fast music. I like music that is considered to be going fast for the average of most people. And the reason I do has nothing to do with being hard to play or being impressive when someone plays it, because I listen to fast electronic music. I just like the adrenaline. The faster you get a song, the more I might get hype and adrenaline and stress, musical stress, and it makes everything that is going on in the music, rhythmically, harmonically, melodically, etc., it hypes it. What is your favorite K-pop group and why is it Blackpink? Also, when is the do cover coming? That reminds me of the Yu-Gi-Oh intro. It's a sick song though, I should cover it, but like, it's kind of those situations where I wouldn't know what to do because I think a metal cover would be cringe because like the arrangement is perfect. It happens so much to me with like K-pop and orchestral music where I'm like, I don't want to cover it because I'm not going to make it better in any way. If it's perfect, you know, I'll just leave it as it is. Also, yeah, Blackpink is probably my favorite if we're in the side of K-pop that is like heavier and more ghetto, gangsta trap shit. They're really good with that. But then it's not actually my favorite part of K-pop. I'm actually a lot more about the ballads. And so there's a lot of solo artists that I really like. But if we're talking about bands, then Loveless is probably my favorite. What's your favorite Facebook shitposting group that focuses primarily on gent? C'est bien. What inspires you the most when composing? Sounds. New sounds. When I stumble upon a new guitar patch, keyboard patch, a new kind of texture in any way, that almost always automatically makes me think, oh, that sound would fit so well in a chorus where you would have those kind of chords and this kind of melody, and that gets my IDs firing up for sure. Do you have any plans for Delcy Hill? That's a secret. Can you give me your Axe-Fx? Bro, I don't have a question at the moment, but I want to be in your Q&A feed, so hi. Yo, my boy Josh. Who's your biggest inspiration as a musician? And do you have an ultimate goal or dream you wish to achieve with your playing? I don't have one biggest inspiration as a musician. It's hard to pinpoint my ultimate goal as a songwriter, but since you're saying achieve with your playing, it's easier to answer if we narrow it down to guitar playing, because in that case I kind of have an ultimate goal where I want to have my guitar playing stop sounding like traditional guitar soloing. And I don't mean that by straying away from the shredder, high distorted single line monophonic thing. I want to keep doing this, but to make it evolve in a way that it becomes as expressive as a voice is. And I'm trying to walk a fine line, because sometimes it's not good when it's too obvious, when you have a wah pedal or a vocoder on the guitar directly and it sounds like someone speaking. It's not working the way I want it to exactly. And the word I would use for my playing and what I want it to be would be organic, but it's a funny word because people usually employ that word to mean they want things to sound like a band playing, musicians playing their instrument, and I kind of want the opposite, because to me, it's not organic if I know it's someone just hitting bits of metal on a bit of wood. It's a dead thing, and I want it to be organic because I want it to sound like a living thing. I want the sound of my guitar to sound like a self-conscious entity that is alive and trying to tell you something. That's basically my goal with it. Alright, my phone is running out of battery. I'm trying to use this battery as a deadline for answering questions. I probably forgot some questions, and I probably forgot yours, and I'm sorry about it. Don't be mad at me. I'm gonna go use a real camera to film a cover I'm actually pretty excited about. Thank you if you stuck for that long. See you next time. So, well, this looks so stupid, bro.